You may have already seen my 10 brutal crash compilations for IndyCar and NASCAR, so I'm going to keep this intro short and sweet. This time we're going to visit the world of endurance racing, such as IMSA, the WEC, American Le Mans Series, as well as some others. There is no fatalities in any of the wrecks that are featured in this compilation, so let's get right into it. Here's number 10. The 2006 Grand Am race at Mid-Ohio featured this spectacular wreck by BMW driver Joey Hand.
Look at this, both sides. Oh, and they hit him. Oh, no! Very big accident. Very, very big accident. We got to hope for Joey Hand he's all right. Multiple flips, gone over 6-7 easily times, end for end. A horrifying incident here. As Paul Edwards, you're driving with it, clips him, gets him loose. He's going off on the grass driver's right. Now there's a new paved section of road there. We'll see it from this angle first. You'll see him get clipped right here. It's going to turn the car to the driver's right. That sends him into the grass, and he hits this new berm of pavement. Watch this. Five, 6, 7, 8 endos. Now sideways once.
The best thing of all of that is that car was not contacted by another one when it came back down. It came off to the side. Take another look, if you dare.
Front gets high first and the back, then this starts 8 times, end for end. Each time that front end hits down, it's a big hit.
You know, the good thing is, as that car's flipping along, he's not making big contact with the ground until he got to the track. So
that one hurt.
Yeah, that one hurt.
Thankfully, Joey Hand was okay and he would walk away from this one. The 1998 Petit Le Mans featured Yanik have this wild backflip crash while leading the race 2 laps ahead.
An astonishing crash, but wait till you see this in slow-mo replay. Now what we'll do here for you is do a freeze frame also. Jeremy.
Okay, look at how tight he is tucked in. Now keep in mind, they're cresting the hill. He's pulling probably 4th gear, right at the strongest part of 4th or 5th gear here, and you can see now a little bit of air under the front of the car, and now once it gets to this point, it is gone. There's absolutely nothing he can do. That car is going to blow over, and there's nothing he can do about it.
Takes off like an aeroplane. Dalmas is in the car. Look, he tucks his head forward. He knows he's in for a ride here, but just have a look at the height here, and we'll freeze it again when the car is upside down. Look at this astonishing pictures here. He's 25 feet in the air, completely upside down.
And luckily, the car goes straight. It doesn't really veer off the racetrack too much, and it lands on its tail. So the nose of the car is in pretty good shape. The car lands here, boom, on its tail. Obviously, a bunch of oil here comes out of the car, quick oil fire, and then the car lands and will hit the barrier. Of course, the nose flies off. But just an unbelievable accident. We're going to look at it again in real time, and we'll listen to it because it's just phenomenal. Just listen. Is okay. You can see him moving in the car there, and he did get out of the car.
He was shell-shocked.
The 2010 American Le Mans Series race at Mosport saw the spectacular accident on the back straightaway, where Luke Hines, who was driving a GT Porsche, gets hit on the back straightaway by Johnny Cocker in a prototype, putting him into the outside guardrail, taking out 60 yards of guardrail posts, completely destroying the barrier and his car, but thankfully he was alright and walked away from this accident. Due to the damage to the guardrail, it would bring a premature end to the race 45 minutes early than the scheduled 2-hour and 45-minute distance.
We'll take a look here at what caused it. This is a huge crash, let me tell you.
We always say that the impacts here are always frightening. Luke Hines, man, that was in real time, and you can see how quickly it happened and how violent it was. Now here it is in slow motion.
Yeah, Johnny Cocker just flicked out from the back of that PC car and just took Luke Hines out effectively. That is a massive impact, and he is a really lucky boy, Dorsey.
The 2012 24 Hours of Le Mans featured the scary accident between Anthony Davidson in a Toyota LMP1 car and Pier Giuseppe Perezzini in a Ferrari GT AM car. The two made contact. Davidson went for a wild flip and would end up breaking 2 vertebrae in his back. He was transported to hospital because of this, but he would end up making a full recovery. The 2001 American Le Mans Series season opener took place at the Texas Motor Speedway on a Roval, and Corvette Racing's Kelly Collins had this absolutely brutal impact with the outside wall after blowing a tire. Thankfully, Kelly was able to get out of the car pretty quickly and faced no serious injuries, with only some minor soreness to his neck. This was also pre-safer barrier times, so the impact was directly into a concrete wall at nearly top speed on the track.
And he had just gone to top gear, so probably about 165, 170 miles an hour in that car. And you could see how quick all that happens. Yeah, and that was exactly the sound that Kelly said. It was kind of this quick knocking sound, and then it was just gone. And he did correct a little bit, but of course the car turned right back to the right, and that's where the hard hit was on the right front.
The 2014 24 Hours of Daytona featured one of the most brutal crashes you'll ever see, where Memo Gidley, who was driving a Daytona prototype, pulled out to pass another car, did not see the slow GT Ferrari, and absolutely clobbered him at an astronomical speed difference. Memo Gidley would unfortunately break his back in this accident, as well as severely injure his left arm and leg, which required surgery, as he was transported to the nearby Halifax Medical Center due to the extent of this accident. Matteo Melicelli, the driver of the Ferrari, was also sent to the hospital as more of a precaution, as he spent the night there but was released the next day with no serious injuries.
That was a tremendous impact, just scary to look at, and obviously tore the front end off the Red Dragon machine. Here we see another look at it. He's diving to the inside of that GT machine, obviously unaware that Melicelli was slow.
The 2022 Super GT race at Fuji featured this absolutely brutal accident on the front straightaway, as the leader was trying to defend his lead and slipstreaming a slow-moving car that was to the inside on the front straightaway. The leader would move out of the way at the last second, but second place, Mitr Tabashi, saw the car at the last second and swerved to avoid him, unfortunately losing control and absolutely hammering the outside guardrail, breaking the guardrail and disintegrating his car in what seems a million pieces, before coming to a rest near the inside wall. Miraculously, he would walk away from this accident, and no penalty was handed down to the leader of the race, despite being criticized for using dirty tactics to defend his race lead. With one of the most infamous wrecks of all time, Peter Dunbrack caught air under his Mercedes, did a backflip through the air, which made the car basically look like it weighed nothing, went right over the wall into the forest in what looked like a potentially fatal crash. But fortunately, Peter Dunbrack would walk away from this one uninjured. His teammate Mark Webber had a similar accident in practice for the race, and it was clearly an aerodynamic flaw. The team would withdraw its remaining car from the race, and major changes would have to be made, including one major change to the racetrack itself, where back then Le Mans had a lot of elevation change, and a lot of that would be completely smoothed out to what we have today. The 2011 24 Hours of Le Mans saw this absolutely horrifying accident with Alan McNish in his LMP1 Audi as he was trying to overtake his teammate for the lead of the race, made contact with a GT car that he was lapping, and flipped heavy into the barrier. Thankfully, Alan McNish would walk away from this accident, as well as all the photographers behind the barrier would escape any serious injury, which is truly lucky as this wreck was absolutely horrifying.
The drivers, the prototype drivers, spoke about this. They said we will need to take unnecessary risks to clear GT traffic. This is frightening stuff. Alan McNish is still in the car.
On first glance, guys, I don't think the gap was there. Let's take a look down through the Dunlop curves. He goes inside Bernard. That's for the lead of the race.
It wasn't there. I mean, we're talking about it. It's really difficult to see out of that car, and it just looks like that's coming into play here.
Cleared that guardrail.
And that is a
goodness.
Boy,
Thank goodness. That is awesome.
That's great to see right there.
that was a massive shunt. And the relief at Audi, relief that Alan is okay.
See the emotion there on Dr. Ulrich, and his eyes almost brought to tears.
Amazing, walking away, just wow. Big shunt.
GT traffic early in the race. You got to say this is just being too aggressive, guys.
Yeah, I totally agree. That wasn't necessary place.
I think it's being awful aggressive, and I think they just can't see out of the car as well.
Next concern is for those fans. In a moment, you're going to see that wheel come down. Look at that. How close that was to the photographer there.
The 1995 IMSA GT Championship had this absolutely brutal crash involving Jeremy Dale and former kart and Formula 1 driver Fabrizio Barbaza, whose Ferrari 333 SP was completely split in half. This wreck would ultimately end the racing careers of Jeremy Dale and Fabrizio Barbaza, with Fabrizio Barbaza getting the worst. He would suffer heavy head injuries as well as chest injuries that left him in critical condition, and unfortunately he would have to be put in a coma with a respirator, but he would fully recover from his injuries. Jeremy Dale, who is the one who hit him, would also suffer serious injuries that would leave him in a wheelchair for a year after the incident, and crutches for another year. He would go through an extraordinary amount of hours of physical therapy and multiple surgeries, but he would recover from his injuries and pursue new opportunities outside of the car, working in television broadcasting.
Now here is the car that they rebuilt, did a lot of rebuilding.
Oh, we've got two
Somebody
cars.
got into it over on the left edge there.
There's two cars crashed on the left, which made Barbaza spin, and Jeremy Dale was moving away from the two cars that he could see on his left and just nailed it amidships. Good grief, I don't think I've ever seen a crash as violent as that.
Frightening crash. That's Barbaza in the yellow 50 Ferrari spinning, and Jeremy Dale just flat center punches the car. But apparently the setup of this was Ray Hendrick's car over to the left and out of view, spun, then Barbaza spun to avoid that while Dale was moving to avoid debris. That's the most devastating onboard camera I think I have ever seen.
And
Frightening.
you can see Dale's head hit the dashboard then, and you just think how tight those seat belts are and how stiff. It just shows the severity of that horrendous impact. Poor Jeremy Dale was caught between the devil and the deep blue sea there. He could really, first of all, saw the accident happening on his left, where the two GTS2 cars were plowing up the banking on the left. He swerved to avoid those tires rolling out in front of him. And of course, unfortunately, Barbaza's car was spinning, and instead of spinning to the right like it might have done, it suddenly reversed direction, and Jeremy nailed it right amidships.
You can see the accident scenes, two of them. That would be Dale's accident on the left, and over on the right, Barbaza's. So as the extrication on both Dale and Barbaza continues. Now let's go back and take a look at that onboard camera. Jeremy Dale.
That just gave you an idea of the severity of that crash. Just completely cut the Ferrari in half.
Well, that's going to do it for today's video. Thank you guys so much for tuning in. These wrecks were in no particular order or anything like that, and thankfully there was no fatalities, although some serious injuries did happen in some of these clips. If you like what you saw today, make sure to subscribe to the channel for more motorsports history videos. I have several other crash compilations for IndyCar and NASCAR. If that's all you're into, you can find them on my channel, but I hope to see you guys again next week. That's all for now. Take care, everybody.